Donald Trump is still performatively whining about the FBI assassination hoax, posting on True Social. I have gotten to know so many amazing United States Secret Service agents. It has been my honor to have them protecting me, often from myself, stopping me from driving to the Capitol on January 6th. I added that part. And my family since our historic 2016 victory against beautiful Hillary Clinton. I'll return to that. Shockingly, however, crooked Joe Biden's DO injustice authorized the use of deadly force in their illegal, unconstitutional, and un-American raid of Mar-a-Lago. And that would include against our great Secret Service, who they thought might be in the line of fire. As I told Crooked Joe's DOJ, if they needed anything, all they had to do was ask. Okay, so let's pause on a couple things. You all already know now that there was literally nothing out of the ordinary about the order for the FBI or the DOJ when they went in to raid Mar-a-Lago. It's entirely invented out of whole cloth. There's nothing to it. But there is something to this. What's with the beautiful Hillary Clinton? What do you beat her 8 years ago, and you will go to your grave with her living rent-free in your head, beautiful or not. She's in there. There's a lot of spare room. I can see how you'd be able to fit her. And then they go to say, like, he's talking about the deadly force that they're gonna use against the Secret Service. Again, it was never gonna happen. And if they needed anything, all they had to do was ask, which they did for months and months and months and months, and he refused to give them the information. Even after their raid, he still had more classified documents. They kept asking, he didn't deliver, thus the raid. Hey, I'm glad you're here. Listen, in order for the damage report to keep on going, we need viewers like you to become a member on YouTube. Can you click the join button on YouTube today? Thank you. But yes, this is the first time we're talking about this. What do you make about the fact that this has become such a big story on the right?
I mean, it makes sense that it would become such a big story on the right because they're still saying that the raid was unjustified. The raid at Mar-a-Lago, it's all part of this bigger witch hunt. All of these court cases against Trump are all part of a bigger witch hunt, which they say, and they just choose to keep ignoring all of the evidence that is actually being presented against him, not just in the news or in the media, but in court. Actual court documents are showing juries across the country in New York, in Atlanta, DC, wherever, that Trump was doing some bad things or things were going on in his name that he knew about at the time that it was all happening. But all of this feels, only really important or relevant people get assassinated or have assassination attempts made against them. So this just all feels like a really weird way for Trump to remind people that he is very, very important and very, very special. And it also falls in line with his supporters framing him as a martyr, akin to even Jesus Christ, because if Trump is anything, he is sacrificial. We all know that.
100%. Now look, we're gonna return to the freaking out because there's more of that, and there's an amazing ironic twist that I love. But I want to talk briefly about why they're doing the freaking out. And when I say that, immediately I'm sure everybody watching this starts throwing up in their mouth, but throwing up in their mind reasons that they'd be doing this, and a lot of it's fairly obvious. They love making themselves out to be victims. They love having a both sidesing of, well, Trump's lawyer literally goes before the Supreme Court and says he can kill his opponents if he wants to and should have absolute immunity. But Biden did this, so I guess it's all equal. All of that is true. But I'm not sure that that's the main reason the media is doing it. That may be the main reason Trump is doing it. The main reason that the news is doing it, I think, is this. I want you to look at what Fox News put up, okay? This is yesterday, I think, when this whole thing blew up. So here, new docs reveal Biden DOJ authorized deadly force in Mar-a-Lago raid. And when you look at that, you focus on the fact that they're inventing this story that they know is not true or whatever. But you know what else is in that thing that was on their front page? A whole lot of space taken up. Space taken up on the front page, space taken up on their shows that could have been talking about other news. And I'm not talking about like, the Thwaites Glacier or whatever. I'm saying other news about this because that was not the only thing that developed. The reason we know about this is because of the documents that were made public. And the documents that were made public had a lot of information in them. Not just this fake thing, it also had the news that we discussed that his attorneys found classified documents in his bedroom months after the raid. If you're Fox News and you have a huge story covering your front page about how they're trying to wipe out Trump and Melania, they're gonna shoot Barron in the head or whatever, you don't have to talk about that. And they didn't on their show. They ignored it utterly. You don't talk about that. You don't have to talk about the fact that the unsealed motions suggest new evidence of possible obstruction as well. You especially don't have to cover this interesting footnote that one of the witnesses mentioned in the documents scanned the contents of a box containing classified documents onto a laptop in her possession owned by the Save America Political Action Committee, a PAC formed by the former president in 2020. All of that stuff, which might be interesting or relevant for the case or deeply worrying, you don't have to talk about any of it. And you get to seem like you're talking about the news as you effectively box the news off of your front page and off of your 24/7 news network. And so I think that that's one of the big motivations. Much of Fox News is taking the place of what a news network should be doing. Don't think about the economy, think about the fact that they're, somebody's boycotting Dr. Seuss or whatever. Don't look at the evidence in this case, look at the thing we're gonna convince says that they were gonna kill Trump or whatever. I think that that's an important part of this. I'm curious, any other thoughts you have, Yas, about the media focus on this?
Yeah, I mean, I love how when Trump was talking about it, he said, look, if you want to know something or if you want something, you just have to ask. Obviously, that's not the case. He was asked, as you mentioned, to turn over those documents at Mar-a-Lago repeatedly. And not only did he not turn them over, but he made deliberate efforts to conceal them and hide them. And he's trying to frame himself as being a very cooperative person, as a man who has nothing to hide. But we all know that that just isn't who he is. It's part of crafting that narrative. And it's part of that crafting is a matter of concealment, right? In order to craft that narrative, you have to pick and choose the parts that are supplementary to that narrative, right? And to be fair, a lot of reporting has bias within it, right? Whether it's consciously or subconsciously, bias is and will always be a part of media reporting. And that's why it's important for viewers to do their own due diligence and kind of, understand that that's a normal human thing to have, right? I think personally, and I think you do this too, I always try to lead with the facts. Like, you're gonna know how I feel about certain things, but my feelings aren't the whole story, right? That's not the story, right? And even whenever I'm looking at a story, I always try to say, okay, well, what are they saying on the other side? Because even with the media that I consume, I'm gonna assume that there's probably something that's being left out or something that I'm missing or an angle or an opinion piece, right? It takes a lot to be an informed consumer of news and media these days, right? And at every turn, people are trying to trick you, and you just have to be diligent. And unfortunately, I think especially we see this on the right, they just aren't. And I don't know, I wouldn't say it's necessarily their fault, but they're just not media literate the way that they should be in this day and age. And now we have AI coming out and everything's about to get so much worse. So everybody strap in, buckle up. I'm not ready for that ride. Are you?
Yeah, it's gonna be intense. I'm worried about it. I would love to talk about it more on the show, but when we cover AI, nobody cares. It's depressing, unfortunately. Yeah. Before we move on, I will say that laptop thing is really interesting. And I wish that was a bigger focus of the media. I don't expect that Fox is gonna cover it because they've never before shown any interest in investigating evidence allegedly being held on laptops. That's not their sort of thing. When you click the join button and become a tier 2 member, you get access to all of our weekly top 10 lists. What are you waiting for?